you might be infecting your sheep if you're someone like me that likes to leave high residuals behind to make sure that when your sheep come back to the pastures, you have this types of grass, this height of grass waiting for them. Because hey, after all, it is a luscious and palatable and in abundance paddock for them. But we're going to talk about how some grazers today are really infecting their sheep with parasites using this method. Now, a lot of people know that whenever you leave low residuals like this and your sheep overgraze your paddocks, you do run the danger of not having enough grass by the time you come back. Not only that, but we know for a fact that sun is going to punish soil, period. And when the sun cooks the soil, the microbacteria life on your soil just dies off, including the parasite. So it's not good to always cut your, or make sure that your sheep always just comes and overgrazes your soil. The only reason this is so low is because I mowed it down to about 1 inch. You always want to have that umbrella type of effect over your soil so that you can always make sure there's enough humidity, cool temperature, and the plants have enough height to make sure they don't use all the energy left in the root system to reach the desired height for when your sheep come back to your paddocks. So which one is it, Ranger? Is it the low or is it the high residuals? Okay, so if what your purpose is to keep your parasite away from your sheep, then I would think that for some people, both methods are correct, but not to me. In a very humble way, let me explain to you why not, okay? Yes, there is the theory that when you have high residuals and your sheep come back with a lot of high grasses, then you are simply gonna, have your sheep automatically just focus on the tips of the grass. And that is true if you're only keeping your sheep in a paddock for 24 hours. In some cases, 48 hours. But in my case here, we do go to 3 days per paddock eventually to allow our soil to have, especially in our very first paddock, to allow our soil to have about 100 to 110 days worth of rest. We are increasing our rest here as we modify our rotation. That's another topic for another video because nothing is set in stone, and you also don't want to have a plateau effect impacting your soil. But to some people, the high residual, high grazing is a method in which they can keep their sheep away from parasite. And I was going to name this video the carbon cowboy trap that nobody's telling you about, but I didn't because I love the carbon cowboys and they are an inspiration. And you see everything we see here in this farm, this compacted soil that was once a horse farm when we bought it, everything you see here and what you have seen throughout our entire videos has been the work of not only my grandfather's knowledge, but the things that I have learned by watching the Carbon Cowboys documentary. You can go to their website, carboncowboys.com, and you'll see an excellent documentary there called Roots So Deep You Can See the Devil. So yeah, but I didn't want to do that. So if you're keeping your sheep in just long grasses only for 24 hours or maybe 48 hours, you can probably get away from them going to the bottom. However, let's be honest, sheep are bottom grazers. They just are. And a lot of times what you're going to see sheep doing is they will probably bite the top of a grass, but then they'll see something down there or smell something down there that they like. And what they're going to do is they're going down there to graze it, right? And that's all going to depend on how many sheep you're having per paddocks, the time they stay per paddock. So no matter if you have tall grass, you are going to see sheep going down there to graze, right? Some people might think that by grazing in short grass, you might have your sheep going away from parasites as well. But that's also not true. Yes, you might allow your sheep to graze, then you might come behind and mow down to 5 inches. Yes, the sun's gonna cook it out, right? But if you live on moist, cool temperatures, so for example, if you're up there in the Washington State area, if you're up there in the Oregon area, well, then we know that the temperature is not always going to be your friend when it comes to parasite larvae. The moisture is not going to be your friend when it comes to parasite larvae. And so we have to be very, very careful. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to enjoy a nice little Coke while I do this video. No, I am not sponsored by Coke, but Coke, if you want to give me a call, I can sure use the money for more sheep. All right, let's finish this video, shall we? Behind, we have one of our front paddocks. This is one of the paddocks that we actually like to mow down. We have such thick grass here that when we mow it down, our soil is never uncovered. And so somehow it's still able to keep a nice level of moisture, and the grass always comes back beautiful, strong. This is one of our 3-day paddocks. Actually, we have only less than a handful, less than 4 paddocks here. I think 3 paddocks that are only 2 days paddocks. But some people like cutting because they want to make sure that the sun pretty much cooks everything behind it. And that way they can come back after 45 to 65 days and they think, or the extension officers tell you, that the parasite is dead. And for the most part, it is. I just want to say a parasite-free life is not possible, no matter where you are. It's just not possible, okay? But there's many tools that you can utilize, and many methods that you can utilize to make sure that you stay away from parasites as much as possible. One of the most important one is FECs, fecal egg counts, right? And then your system. So what is the problem with leaving tall residuals? The problem with leaving tall residuals is simply the extension of the life cycle when it comes to parasites. Yes, we all want to leave tall residuals. If you're going to have livestock grazing your land, you want to have tall residuals. You want a thriving ecosystem in your property. We all know that when you leave a tall residual in long rest, your soil is able to rest, your soil is able to absorb water, your soil temperature stays low, and as a result of that, there's a constant level of humidity there for your plants to access. There's a constant level of humidity and a cool enough temperature for the life to thrive in your soil. And as a result of that, you are not only building topsoil, you are eliminating compaction. You are, as a result of that, generating more forage for your animals, and it's all good. But you are also, as a result of that, generating a longer lifestyle and period for your parasite larvae. Think about it. If everything else enjoys the cool moisture in there and they are able to thrive, so is your parasite larvae. A lot of people are bringing their sheep back to pastures in less than the recommended period. And that is a mistake a lot of us has made. Guess who made that mistake? I did, and I paid for it. I lost a beautiful, beautiful royal white ewe that, let's be real, royal white are not very strong when it comes to parasite, and one of her offsprings. We caught her too late. I was out of state. And obviously my kids were learning their ways around the sheep. They didn't know what to look for. By the time I saw her, it was just too late. But yeah, we made that mistake. We took the sheep back out to paddock just a little too early. Okay, that was my bad. I was learning the new system. I was learning the parasite lifestyle. I was learning life cycles and all of that stuff. And I thought, hey, you know, we've been here about 50 days from this paddock. It's good to bring him back. We've been having a D1 and D2 drought. Yeah, but we were also having 3-foot and in some spots 4-foot tall grasses. So it doesn't matter we were having a drought. Down to the ground, we were having a cool party. Low temperatures, high moisture, great and thriving microbacteria living down there, but also thriving parasite larvae, especially the Hemonchus contortus, especially here in the beautiful state of Kentucky. That's one of our main parasites here for sheep, and I think most of the country as well. And so, yes, when you leave a high residual behind, the rest period has to increase. And not only has to increase by a little, it has to increase by a lot. What we are finding out here is that if we are leaving our paddocks to get anywhere between 110 to 120 days worth of rest, then 120 days you are, I hate to say 99, but 99% sure that most of your parasites are dead and gone. And so that, along with managing the amount of life, not the amount of life, but the amount of animals we're keeping per paddock and the times they're staying per paddock, that also helps a bit. Next year, we are going to implement a different pattern, a different rotation system from the get-go. We're changing things up. You don't want to, again, you don't want to bring sort of a plateau effect to your soil, or it's going to also harm your soil. But yes, if you are leaving tall grass behind and bringing your sheep with tall grass again, and you're not leaving enough rest, then you're basically infecting your sheep. And that's not what we want to do. So try this. If you don't have enough land to get 120 days worth of rest, don't leave more than 6 to 8 inches behind, and allow the sun to cook that down a little bit, but just know that your soil is going to take a little bit of a hit. It's not going to be bad like some people that are allowing their sheep to graze down to 2 to 3 inches. That's bad as well. So I know I can talk a lot, but I hope that this video served you a little bit. If you're doing the carbon cowboy method, let's just call it that way, because I'm sure people in America are more familiar with that. They require long periods of rest. And there's a reason behind that. So your soil can regenerate, your forage can regenerate, but also your parasite can live their entire lives and eventually rest in peace. So, and we want to keep it that way. We want to keep it that way. So hopefully this video helped. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment sections, and I'll see you guys on the next one.